We now have 13 senators present. And before we start the session this morning, we're going to ask the executive branch, member of the executive branch, Pastor Glenn Bulchi, to give us our opening prayer this morning. Testing, that's right.
Well, we just, today is an historical day, not only for the Crow Nation, but there's some prophetic words that have come, that's been spoken over the Crow Nation, that Bharatiya is going to let the Apsalogate people, the name of the Apsalogate people, be made known, not only nationally but worldwide. And at Hirage, I believe this is the beginning. That the Crow Nation, we will be known throughout the world. And so, let's all stand up and acknowledge God. Let's and I'm going to say not only a prayer but a blessing over the Crow Nation. As a pastor and called to be an apostle, I believe I have this right to declare a blessing over. So, Noabesh Father, Noabesh Father, we thank you. This is that Noabesh, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord nation. Noabesh, we declare that Jesus Christ is Lord over the Crow Nation. And that we declare in this place this place that where laws are made and have passed, that we declare that that the spiritual law of Romans, Romans chapter 8 verse 1, that the spiritual law of life. The spiritual of life, like it, we release life, and we declare right now, Lord, that as we declare blessing upon the Crow Nation, that we bless the Crow Nation. We declare that this day, and that this is the day of new beginnings. This is the day of prosperity. And so we release the blessing of prosperity over the Crow Nation. That I declare that Noabesh, that we are a nation under God, under you. And Noabesh, we declare and we release the blessing over the elected, over the executive, over the legislature and judicial. We declare the blessing over the Crow Nation. We release the blessing of God over every man, woman, and child. We release the blessing even upon our land. Noabesh, even the land that we lost, we will get that land back. And Noabesh, over the atmosphere and the hemisphere and the stratosphere, as well as the land and under the land, we ask for your blessing and we release the blessing of God. And Noabesh, this is a historical day because and we give you all the glory, we give you all the praise. And let there be, we declare a blessing of unity, peace, and joy. Noabesh, Noabesh, a home for your blessing upon us as Crow people. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Thank you, Pastor. All right, we'll start with roll call, beginning with Senator Pretty Page. Mike.
Pretty Pig, Black Lodge.
Stuart Black Lodge. Not afraid, Ashwajitcha.
Cover your blood, guys.
Alden, Bighorn.
Not afraid, Bighorn. Bighorn. Deep Drain, Arrow Creek.
Goes ahead, Arudasa. Hug, Zero Creek.
Real Bird, Mighty Few.
Old Rospazitcha.
Shane, Reno. That gives us 13 senators, as stated by Secretary of the House. As we go back to our agenda, well, before we go into the agenda, we have House rules where cell phones. If you could please turn your cell phones off, or if you need to talk to someone, if you can step outside, because our recording system picks up everything in the chambers here. So you could just please adhere to our rules. Before we go on with our agenda, we last left off with accepting the agenda, and that brings us to item number 4, review and approval of the journals for October 2012 quarterly session, November 2012 special session, December 12th, 2012 special session, December 20th, 2012 special session. We'll recognize Senator Alden of the Bighorn District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body, and visiting guests. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to reserve number 4 and 5 on the agenda to the end here. We'll just bump them down to the end, and I'll make that motion right now.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to move items 4 and 5 to the end of the agenda by Senator Alden, second by Senator Goes Ahead, question by Senator Not Afraid. All those in favor of moving items 4 and 5 to the end of the agenda, raise your right hand. With a vote of 13 yes, that leaves us with 0 abstained and 0 opposed. Motion carries. That takes us to item number 6 on the agenda, which is old business. These are items referred back that have been referred back to committee during the October 2012 session. With that, that takes us to the first item of old business, a joint action resolution entitled Final Approval of Amendment to Oil and Gas Lease between the Crow Tribe of Indians and Blue Water Petroleum, LLC. Chairman of the Natural Resources Committee is Senator Stewart. Program is Senator Stewart.
Hello, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and invited guests. I'm honored. A joint action resolution introduced by the Executive Chairman of the Crow Tribal Executive Branch, joint action resolution of the Crow Tribal Legislature and the Crow Tribal Executive Branch entitled Final Approval of Amendment to Oil and Gas Lease between the Crow Tribe of Indians and Blue Water Petroleum, LLC. Mr. Speaker.
We have that heading read into record. We had discussed this before with the chairman of the committee, and today we're going to ask that it be read into record. We had used this, the Rule 13E. If you remember correctly, Senators, we used Rule 13E and put this into old business at the time because Executive Legal was not here to present at that time. So in order for us to proceed on with this, I talked to the chairman of the committee, and he's willing to read this into record. So we need a motion to adopt, as he's read the heading. Floor and Senator Huggs. Motion to adopt. Motion to adopt by Senator Huggs. Second by Senator Goes Ahead. Go ahead and proceed.
Whereas the chairman of the executive branch has authority and responsibility pursuant to the enumerated powers in Article 4, Section 3F of the Constitution and bylaws of the Crow Tribe of Indians to negotiate and approve or prevent any sale, disposition, lease, or encumbrance of tribal lands, interests in lands, or other tribal assets, including buffalo, minerals, gas, and oil, with final approval granted by the legislative branch, and in Article 4, Section 3K, to negotiate and approve limited waivers of sovereign immunity when such a waiver is necessary for business purposes in accordance with Article 5, Section 2F of the Constitution and whereas the legislative branch has authority and responsibility pursuant to its powers and duties in Article 5, Section 2D of the Constitution to grant final approval or disapproval of items negotiated by the executive branch of government pertinent to the sale, disposition, lease, or encumbrance of tribal lands, interests in lands or mineral assets, and in Article 5, Section 2F to grant final approval or disapproval of limited waivers of sovereign immunity by the executive branch when waivers are necessary for business purposes. And whereas the Crow Tribe entered into an oil and gas lease with Longshot Oil LLC, a Washington limited liability company, on March 27, 2008. As authorized by Joint Action Resolution number JAR 08-02, the lease was approved by the Rocky Mountain Regional Director, Bureau of Indian Affairs on July 31st, 2008, as oil and gas lease number 14-20-0252-5163, recorded as document number 202-705-1630813, the lease. And whereas the lease was assigned by Longshot Oil LLC to Blue Water Petroleum LLC, a Mountain Limited Liability Company, according to an assignment of partial interest in lease dated March 4, 2011, which assignment has been consented to by the Chairman of the Executive Branch on behalf of the Crow Tribe as authorized by Section 2 and 4 of JAR 08-02 and was approved by the Rocky Mountain Regional Director. There's blank, recorded as document blank, and whereas the Chairman of the Executive Branch, with the delegated assistance of the Oil and Gas Committee, has negotiated an amendment to oil and gas lease, provided for, among other things, the addition of approximately 4,516 acres in the prior area that are contiguous to the existing lease for the exploration and production of oil and gas on the tribally owned mineral interests within such added lands, a copy of which is attached herein and incorporated by reference, and whereas exploration for and development of tribal oil and gas resources in the best interest of the tribe and tribal members, and the lease provided for such exploration and development on a fair, environmentally responsible, and commercially sound basis, and the limited waiver of the tribe's sovereign immunity in the lease is necessary for business purpose. And whereas after approval by the legislature and executive branch of the Crow Tribe, the lease is subject to approval by the Secretary of Interior or its designee pursuant to the Indian Mineral Development Act of 1982 and other applicable federal law. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature and the executive branch of the Crow Tribe. Section 1. That the amendment to the oil and gas lease between the Crow Tribe of Indians and Blue Water Petroleum LLC, attached hereto and incorporated by this reference, is hereby granted final approval pursuant to Article 5, Sections 2D and 2F of the Constitution and bylaws of the Crow Tribe. Section 2, that the provisions of Sections 1 through 4 of Joint Action Resolution JAR 08-02 shall remain in full force and effect. Section 3, that the final approval granted herein is effective on the date of approval of this resolution and is subject only to such further approvals as are required by federal law, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Just hold for a second. All right, after conversing with the Secretary of the House, we'll go into 30-minute presentation. Being that the sponsor is not here, the chairman of the committee has been in contact with the executive branch pertaining to this resolution. So the floor is now yours, Senator Stewart, chairman of the Natural Resources Committee.
Hello, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and guests. At this time, we're asking that we had committee meetings, we had tours of the site, and Senator Hugs has been on site with the geologists in that area. And right now, there's great potential of oil and gas development in that area. Right now, with the findings that have been that have been developed with the new developments and findings. We have great potential right now in the 10th sleep, and so that's something that we're looking at right now. There's just a few things, minor things that we have to address, that we have to change, and there's some amendments that we're going to change up in this legislation. So at this time, I'm going to open the floor for proponents in the 30-minute. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Floor recognizes Senator Hooks of the Prior District.
Thank you, Speaker, Secretary, body, guests. Lage talash bideg bakwa lude aja matach talash bide bale hon oymuş lage lage ekşibiri EPA giralık BLM giralık balu çiğdikna reservation lage lage babim start up bush can baleg and show bashba balawado hem lage shibidu dagu dalu hem babim gugus sikyalik na niwi rush gyolik at charging lage 40-acre tract 40-acre tract, 4 wells, sort of extraction aid, Baladoa, that duck, Toygat tuck on Obajil, and Tagas Aja, go Lugalaga, na showing get there, Lidu, Bala La Horse, not charge, and na 40 acres Scottish per month, 100,000, that pretty suggest for tribal. So bala 100,000 get there. Going at 50 got do it in the Shatada 50 got do all got not clash but million barrels so they pop well and lage baluta do go abe lage stage get there can much charges for so I hope.
Thank you, Senator Hooks. Floor recognizes Senator Gozad of the Arrow Creek District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body, and all the Crow tribal members. Yage, you're on live stream, and so it's an historical day. Well, long shot oil was long shot started this endeavor on the oil there in Pryor about 4 years ago, and then Blue Water Petroleum took over the this lease. And me and part of it is tribal, and some of it is a lot teeth for the guild. So this is where we're headed. And Tom Hines, he's the geologist there. The other guy that's working on it, Caroline Pease Lopez Chira, is Dave Lopez, also another geologist, and they're the ones that have been working on this. So really, it's a good prospect to bring in money for the tribe as well as the allottees. And so Tom Hines has been going through some obstacles, which is BLM. You know, if you want to get the oil right now off the reservation in the state of Montana, I believe it's $35 for a permit. But it's $6,500 on the Crow Reservation, $6,500 for a permit, and you got to go through all the obstacles of the bureaucracy. That's what's been holding this up for a while. So they're getting close, and not only that, some of the paperwork that he was telling us the other day in the chairman's office with a few of the legislators, what Tom Hines was explaining was some of the paperwork was There's a little box there, and they mischecked it for I forget what it was, and the Bureau of BLM rejected that. So they have to start all the paperwork, and Tom Hines was saying, why don't we just make that correction on the paperwork? And they told him, we got to start all this paperwork over. You can't do that. So that's the bureaucracy that they're facing. So there's about, what, six wells that they were asking for a permit, 8, and then I think they only got 3. They only got 3, so some of them have been rejected. On the tribal site, but on the individual lottees, they haven't got to that yet, but they will get to that. So so that's what's actually happening with this Blue Water Patrol, and they have an office there at the Arrow Creek Community Center in Pryor, and they rent that place for about $300 a month. And at the time, Carol, I think, was still working for them as a secretary, and getting leases and so forth. Carol Whiteman here. So this has been ongoing for some time now. And this is for all your information, as well as those that are in the live stream. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Goes ahead. Organized Senator Hugs, Arrow Creek District.
Since we're in the making of history right now, it's going to be the first one, the steam method. You see it in California, Bakersfield. That's what they're doing right now to extract that heavy crude. And right now, it's going to be history in the making also, and it's the first one to ever hit the Montana soil. So you can charge. So you have to join me on that one. I hope.
Thank you, Senator Hugs. We're still in the 30-minute presentation. If there's no more presentations, no more discussion, going once, going twice, the floor will now ask the committee chair, Senator Stewart, for his recommendation from the Committee of the Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and guests, and people on the live stream. We had a meeting Monday, January 14th, 2013, to get the final recommendation of where we need to go with this before we bring it to the floor for a final vote. And we had an invocation by Senator Okro. 11 members were present, and a recommendation and motion was given to refer the Blue Water deal back to committee, but read into the record and keep it alive and well. And the motion was made by Speaker Shane, seconded by Senator Alden, questioned by Senator Nottafried, and the consensus vote was 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstain. For the record, Mr. Speaker, the motion was approved, refer back to committee, and bring it out with the understanding at a special session.
All right, thank you, Senator Stewart. So now this has been referred back to committee. So who will be coming from the executive branch when we call for a Natural Resource Committee meeting? Will it be the Oil and Gas Committee or the Natural Resource Department? Do you have anyone in mind that we need to put on notice now that they need to get in touch with you to continue on with meetings?
I believe Chairman Okon stated that Bill Watt from the legislative or from the executive branch from legal is going to be representing the oil and gas. So both oil and gas and executive legal, Bill Watt will be on that notification.
All right, thank you. Next, that takes us to the next item on the agenda.
Point of order. Need a motion for his recommendation.
Yeah.
I make that formal motion.
We have a motion on the floor, second by Senator Goes Ahead. Question by Senator Alden. All those in favor of Senator Stewart's motion, raise your right hand. Motion carries with a vote of 14, which leaves us with 0 opposed and 0 abstaining. JR will go back to committee. That takes us to the next item on the agenda, and that will bring us to the joint action resolution entitled Approval of the Articles of Incorporation for the Gonzalez Development Fund Incorporated as a tribally chartered nonprofit corporation eligible for certification as a Native Community Development Financial Institution. We have a new chair for the Economic Development Committee, so at this time we recognize Senator Hugs, Chairman of the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, Speaker, Secretary, Body, guests. Yeah, right now we're gonna send that one back to committee.
All right, so the chairman of the committee is going to send that back to the Economic Development Committee. So we'd like to put on notice keep it in committee. So we're just referring it back to committee. All right, we're keeping it committee. And Economic Development Department, is there a department head for Economic Development? Executive.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, organized Senator Stewart.
I believe the individual involved would be Mr. Sievert LaForge. He's in
Okay.
charge of the corporations and LLCs.
Okay. So if Mr. LaForge is here, you know who you have to get in touch with. The proper procedure is that the executive branch, either department head or director, will get in touch with this chairman of the committee, so we can start having meetings on this in between session, so we can start moving forward, because we have a lot of items that are in committee. And we've been at stalemate for quite some time now. We need to get some business done, so, but we can't move unless the executive branch sends their directors over to meet with the committees, and then we start discussing stuff to move forward. No. So with that, we'll go on to the next item of the agenda. The next item is joint action resolution of the Pro-Tribal Executive Branch and the Pro-Tribal Legislature entitled Resolution Supporting the Establishment of a Pro-Tribal Conservation District and Empowering the Crow Land Use Board to Assume the Duties of the Crow Conservation District. And at this time, that'll be the Surface Land Committee. The chairman of the Surface Land Committee is Senator Goes Ahead of the Arrow Creek District. Organized Senator Goes Ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body. I believe at this time I will need to find out, the transition that's happening and taking place across the road here, the executive branch. I need to know who's in the land resources or land. So we'll just keep this in committee and we'll find out where I need to go with that. So I think Peggy Rice was land resource, so I might need to get with you on this bill here, because it's been in committee, so. And I don't know who else, so I'm just kind of finding that out, so. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator Goes Ahead. We do have the CEO in the chamber, so I'm sure he's getting notes of this so that he can get the right people to the legislature for the meetings. So that'll take us to the next item on the agenda, joint action resolution of the Pro-Tribal Legislature and the Pro-Tribal Executive Branch entitled Proposed Memorandum of Agreement with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service regarding protection of eagles and enforcement of federal and tribal laws against illegal harvesting and trafficking of eagles and eagle parts, which would be to the Fish and Wildlife and Parks Recreation Committee. I believe the chairman of that is Senator Kyle Gruns. Senator Kyle Gruns is not here, so the secretary of the committee is Senator Not Afraid of the Bighorn District. We'll recognize Senator Not Afraid of the Bighorn District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Legislative Branch, Body, and guests. At this time, we haven't met with the Executive Legal, Melissa Shane, and I talked to her a couple of days ago, and we're going to start a meeting on this item. And at this time, leave it in committee. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, takes us to the next item. Joint action resolution entitled Resolution to Update the Crow Indian Reservation IRR Long Range Transportation Plan. And for everyone's information, this JR was read into record and motion was made by Senator Covers Up and seconded by Senator Backbone, referred back to Transportation Committee. We have a new chairman of the Transportation Committee, and that is Senator Two Leggins, who is not here. So for organized Secretary of the Committee, Senator Pretty Paint of the Black Lodge District. For organized Senator Pretty Paint.
All right, so we're going to refer it back to committee since we just started, and then we'll meet with the transportation department.
All right, thank you. On the next item on the agenda, joint action resolution entitled Final Approval of the Exploration Agreement, Option to Lease Agreement, and Coal Leases between the Crow Tribe of Indians and Big Meadow Coal Company, LLC. And that's the Natural Resources Committee, organized Senator Stewart of the Black Lodge District.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and guests, I request that we move this to the end of this portion of the agenda.
It needs to be in the form of a motion, so
I'll
we
make
can
that in the
vote.
form of motion
Have a motion on the floor.
to be moved back to the last part behind the endorsement of candidates legislation.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor to move that to the end of old business. A second by Senator Hugs. Do we have a question? Question by Senator Not Afraid. All those in favor of moving this item on the agenda to the end of old business, raise your right hand. Motion carries with a vote of 14, which leaves us opposed, 0 abstaining. That takes us to the next item, which is old business. On the old business agenda, a bill for an act entitled An Act to Amend Title 23 of the Crow Law and Order Code by revising the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance. That referred to, that is in the Gaming Committee. At this time, the chairman of the Gaming Committee is Senator Railbird of the Wildwood District. For organized Senator Railbird.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and guests. Right now, we just had one meeting so far, and we're working on that. So I want to refer it back to committee and possibly look into maybe a special session here. So that's my recommendation today.
Do we have anyone in? Do we have anyone in chambers from the casino? If not, I guess, Chair, you can just get in touch with the casino and let them know that we referred that back to committee. right, that takes us to the next item. A bill for an act entitled, an act to amend the Exalca Tribal Cultural Resource Protection Act, which is in the Treaty and Cultural Committee. Chairman of the Treaty and Cultural Committee is Senator Coversup, floor organized Senator Coversup of the Lodgegrass District.
Yes, this needs to be kept in committee at this time to get with the new administration, and they probably got somebody else new representing the cultural part of the committee or in that part of the executive part. So we just need to make this a committee meeting to get them over here and start this all over again. Thank you.
All right, so we do have a CEO in the chamber, so you can get in touch with the right department, I think, which is the cultural department, to get in touch with Senator Coversup regarding this item on the agenda. Next, we move on to a bill for an act titled, an act to amend the Title 10 of the Crow Law and Order Code to protect against non-Crow and non-Indian felony convicts receiving parental custody of Crow children. Health and Human Resources Committee. Chairman of that committee is Senator Notifrey of the Lodgegrass District, so the floor now recognizes Senator Notifrey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Secretary, members of the body, and honored guests. At this time, Mr. Speaker, I believe the committee's intent is to keep this in committee, and if the CEO would be so kind to notify the committee on who is delegated to work with the Health and Human Services Committee, we'd be so obliged, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I believe he's taking that notice now, so we'll move on to the next item. A legislative resolution titled a resolution. All right, back online. A legislative resolution titled a resolution of the Crow Tribal Legislature to demand full explanation of the 1.9 million advance from Westmoreland on future tribal coal royalties used by Chairman Black Eagle for the August 2012 per capita distribution. That was in Revenue Committee. The Chairman of the Revenue Committee is Senator Goes Ahead. Organized Senator Goes Ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess I'll come up and explain a little bit, briefly. Probably have to keep it in committee. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Secretary, remember we had a shared with Westmoreland, Tom Durham. Just going to share what he said. When was that? We had a meeting in Crown Plaza with Westmoreland. Tom Durham is the Vice President of Marketing, Marketing for Westmoreland University. Anyway, we brought up the question about the 1.9 million that was in the former chairman took in, made or requested the advance for the August. No. Yeah, August. Yes, August and December of 1.9 million from our royalties from Westmoreland. So we were sitting at the table, and I brought up the question to Tom Durham. How did this take place? How did this 1.9 million, who and when did it take place is what my question to him was, or who authorized it. Tom Durham said, that, he took responsibility of authorizing this to the former chairman of the 1.9 million in advance of royalties to year per capita. So that was the August payment as well as the December payment. So, that Tom Durham said that it was his decision. So I said, I don't think it should be that way. I think that we have to have a process, if there's going to be any future royalties, that we have to have a process where it's got to come to, because there's got to be a limited waiver of sovereign immunity, which, there wasn't. So really, in reality, we feel that we shouldn't be paying that 1.9 million back because, that was a decision made by the Vice President of Westmoreland, one-man decision, plus, the former chairman. So that was the answer that he gave us, and that's about the only report that I'm going to give you guys. So from here on in, we have to have something about advances. It's not like Yo-Yo, giving me some advances in that, but anyways, we don't need. We need to have a something that has to be in place that we make sound decisions, educated decisions, instead of paying it back. And the whole Crow tribe is paying. We have to pay this back, the 1.9 million. So we have to find a process of doing all that. So that's the information for y'all.
So at this time, Senator, are we going to keep this in committee?
I believe that we will keep this in committee and we'll discuss what we can do for further discussions.
Okay. Thank you. All right, the next item is a legislative resolution of the Crow Tribal Legislature to endorse candidates for public offices in upcoming federal and Montana elections. This is from October 19th, 2012. This was in the Treaty Committee, so the floor organized Senator Coversup of the Lodge Grass District. Senator Coversup.
Okay, this is past history now. It'd be your call to just 1, 2, 3 in a row here. That will.
All right, I guess we'll just call for a motion to table. Organized Senator Alden of the Big One District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body, and Secretary, guests. I believe, like Chairman said on this one, this is history pretty much. We went through elections and there's no need for this one even on the agenda. So at this time, I'll make a motion to table.
We have a motion to table this item. Do we have a second? Second by Senator Not Afraid of the Bighorns. A question by Senator Huggs. All those in favor of the motion to table, raise your right hand. With a vote of 14, that leaves us with a 0 opposed and 0 abstaining. Motion carries. That item is now tabled. And at this time, we're still waiting on some of the executive officials to be able to make it here. So we're going to take we'll take about a 10-minute recess. So senators, we'll take a 10-minute recess and then we'll come back into session. That'll take us to the last item of the old business agenda, which is the Cloud Peak. This is for everyone in the chambers. The reason why we keep getting the feedback while we're talking is because someone's cell phone is on. So if someone is texting or if your cell phone is on, it gives us interference with our system here. So we appreciate if someone could, whoever has their cell phone on, if you could turn it off. So Marshall, if you could turn your phone off. We could turn record off. But for everyone's information, we are live streaming today, so everyone's on the internet. And then after we get done with session, we put all of our sessions on YouTube. So if there's something that you've missed, you can just go into YouTube and type in legislative branch, pro legislative branch, and you can watch whatever you missed on YouTube. A bit of an explanation. We covered all these resolutions. They've been in committee for about 2 years now, and I'm pretty sure everyone's knows why. We had a lot of I don't know if we want to call it anything negative, but the past administration had told their department heads not to come over here for anything. So when the executive, when you don't send your department heads over here to conduct the meetings, everything's on a standstill. So we need your department heads, your different directors to come over and get in touch with the right committee chairs so that we can get things busy, get business going. The wheels need to be turning, but the wheels don't turn unless the directors come over, the different committees come over and speak with the committee chairs so that we can get these laws passed.